the big smile of Emlyn Hughes as he collects the European Cup for Liverpool in the Olympic Stadium in Rome. That was 7 years ago against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Tonight, Liverpool are back in that same stadium, back in the European Cup final. But the task is very different. AS Roma are the opponents on their own pitch in front of their own fans, and we'll be going live to the quite extraordinary atmosphere of the Olympic Stadium in just a few minutes' time. And certainly Roma have used their home advantage to good effect in their run so far. They haven't conceded a goal in any of the home leg games, and in that semi-final against Dundee United, they won 3-0 in the Olympic Stadium to go through 3-2 on aggregate. That's the power of Roma on their own ground. Meanwhile, Liverpool going for their 4th European Cup win. Well, they can point to their own form away from home in getting to this final. Victory in all 4 away legs, including 1-0 against Athletic Bilbao, that magnificent 4-1 win away against Benfica, a 2-1 victory in the away leg against Dinamo Bucharest. Well, with us in the studio, as ever, Jimmy Greed.
Hey.
Jimmy, how important is that home advantage to Roma tonight?
Well, obviously, any side playing in the European Cup final would be loved to be playing at home. And, of course, Roma are, and 60,000 Italians surely haven't come there to praise Liverpool, that's for sure.
Pressure on Liverpool then from those 60,000, but pressure also on the Italians, I should think.
Oh, without doubt. I mean, there's always pressure when you play in front of your own crowd, but at the same time, if you're going to have the choice, you'd sooner be playing at home than away, obviously.
Right, well, let's take a look at the form of both teams, both Roma and Liverpool, starting with Roma on their own ground. This was from the first round, first leg against Gothenburg.
That's right. They look a bit of a useful attacking side. That was a beautiful through ball there, and that was Cerezo who knocked it over. And you can see the way that he controlled it and hit it all in one movement. Here we've got Conti playing a really great 1-2. Keeper was a bit asleep there. But Conti in the build-up again. And you can see they've got very fluid movement. That's twice he's let the ball through his legs, and Cerezo gets the ball in the back of the net. So they do look a bit tasty. On the other hand, we've got Mr. Rush. And here he comes. And what a great goal this. What a lovely little chip that was. So the Romans won't have it all their own way, that's obvious. And here we've got, again, Ian scoring yet another really first-class goal. It's a superb effort, this. The defender ploughs the pitch with his nose, but Ian still picks the ball up and tucks it away in super style. So a bit of deadly finish in there on both sides, really, Steve.
Well, Ian Rush, certainly a danger man for Liverpool.
Yeah.
How do you think the Italians will handle him tonight?
Well, strangely enough, I think if there is any defect in the Roman side, it is the defence, and that's unusual for Italians. They're normally, as you know, very tight at the back. But what I've seen of them, they don't appear to be that good. They rely on their attacking strength, and we haven't mentioned 2 names, of course, Falcao and Graziani, both great players. So if Liverpool are going to control the game, I think they can, and they can get down the line and get behind the Roman defence, which, as I say, don't look that good.
Jimmy, thanks very much. We'll be hearing a lot more from you a bit later. So we're clearly set for what is certain to be another marvellous night of European soccer. Out in the Olympic Stadium, we've got Kevin Keegan, hero of that Liverpool win back in 1977. We've got another great Liverpool star in Ian St. John. They're alongside our commentator, Brian Moore, and we'll be going live to the Olympic Stadium right after this break. The Olympic Stadium in Rome alive with noise and colour, set for the European Cup final. Roma against the league champions from England, Liverpool. A marvellous atmosphere out there in Rome. We can go there now live and join our commentator, Brian Moore.
Good evening to you from the Olympic Stadium in Rome. A mild summer evening after a day of brilliant warm sunshine in this beautiful city. The perfect setting, a spectacular arena for what promises to be an epic battle. Roma in a change strip tonight. They lost the toss. They play in white. Liverpool in their familiar red. And Roma without the defender Madeira, who's suspended. 2 fine Brazilians in their side to watch out for. The influential Falcao in midfield, and Cerezo also. 2 Italians who helped the country to win that World Cup victory in 1982, Bruno Conti and Francesco Graziani. Liverpool, that familiar lineup, already the First Division champions, Milk Cup winners, and in this side, 1 survivor from the team that won the European Cup in 1977, Phil Neal. Well, tonight they come to Roma's ground, knowing, I suppose, it's the biggest European test they've ever faced. They've won the European Cup 3 times. Roma have never played in the European Cup final, and the referee is Erik Fredriksson, a 6'2" auditor from Sweden who runs 6 miles a day to keep himself fit. Speaks English, speaks German, and needs to speak a good international football language to keep control of, well, this amazing scene. Emotions all around. People talk about the pressure on Liverpool coming here, and on the left is Niels Liedholm, the manager of Roma. There are the Roma substitutes. Strukel, the number 14, Mark Strukel, with an English mother, born in Dorking, in fact, of a Yugoslav father. Some scene. And Kevin Keegan was here in 1977 when Liverpool won. Well, Kevin?
Well, you only really appreciate it as a spectator. When you're down there, obviously you're trying to shove everything that's happening outside the field out of your mind. It's much easier in 1977 because there's only 30-odd thousand people here, but I've never seen anything quite like this on a football field.
Do you fancy your old team's chance tonight?
Obviously, you've got to say that they possibly start with a disadvantage of a goal, really, because they're playing against Roma in their own stadium in front of thousands and thousands of their own fans. But if any team can ever win against all the odds, then that team's Liverpool. So you've got to say, yes, I fancy him. I think we're in for a great spectacle.
There you have a great spectacle, this magnificent Olympic Stadium with the magnificent Liverpool side in it. Ian St John, your view?
Well, I think I've got to agree with Kevin. I think Liverpool are the only team really in Europe that could come here to this atmosphere tonight and put on a show. And I fancy the Reds, actually, because I had a look at Roma when they played Dundee United. I saw the game live, and I felt that Liverpool, you know, just maybe have enough for them.
We saw Dr. Pertini, the president of Italy there, a great football fan. A match that's been beamed around the world. They estimate something like 900 million people will be watching this with you in 68 different countries. Just along the way, we're told His Holiness the Pope, who we know is a football fan, will be watching as well. And we are soon to get underway. A massive crowd. In fact, they were packed in here as early as 6 hours ago.
And welcome back to our live coverage of the European Cup final. 1-1 at half-time between Roma and Liverpool. And Jimmy Greaves, I think Liverpool really can be happy with about 90% of that first half, can't they?
Yes, really, Steve. They were playing well within themselves. Graham Souness, in particular, is having a superb game and was controlling everything. And there it did. It happened a couple of minutes to go, but
up until then, the pace of the game had been absolutely perfect for Liverpool.
Well, absolutely, because that's how they would want to play at Liverpool. It suited them down to the ground. Everything was going very well for them. I mean, it still is. Let's look at it objectively. They're still doing remarkably well. They could have been doing better. They could be 1-0 up at half-time.
So what's going to be Liverpool's approach in the second half?
I would say Joe will be in between drags of his cigarettes, would be saying to the Liverpool lads, look, just play exactly the same way as you've been doing for the last 45 minutes, and it'll come. And I think it can do, yes.
Well, I think a few nervous hands reaching for cigarettes all over the country now.
First of all, I'm getting fed up with these extra times because I get stuck in this bubble that you can see. And it's not very comfortable. But, I don't know, Liverpool have just got to keep plugging away. I think what's been said out there is correct. If any defence is going to crack, it's going to be the Rome defence, and there's another 30 minutes to go now, isn't there? Certainly the way Lawrenson's playing, I mean, he's had such an outstanding game that you can't really see Liverpool giving too much away at this particular time. Let's hope they can snatch one. Otherwise, it's a penalties job again, isn't it?
Yes, I think they need some stout hearts up and down the country, Jimmy, if it comes to penalties again. I mean, there's Alan Hansen that Jimmy was talking about here, and what a tremendous game he'd had. And in fact, he and Lawrenson have both had marvellous games.
Yeah, terrific. I mean, two great central defenders.
Okay, coming back this is alive. Stand by. Right, okay, mate, you should warn us. Back with us now, Brian. Back.
So the Liverpool players getting a breather there. And Graziani, who's had his moments and now will presumably continue to play right up the centre of that attack.
He's still a dangerous player. I mean, I do think this big fella is a very good player. Real grafter for the team, you know, non-stop, never gives you a minute's rest if you're a defender. Obviously getting towards the end of his career, as it were, you know. How old is he, Brian?
He's 32.
Yeah, well, he's a year younger than me, so he's obviously getting on a little bit.
He's played his way through Torino and Fiorentina and Roma, 3 great Italian clubs.
But the fans are still singing, you know, they feel that the Reds can still do it. As I say, going into extra time, Liverpool are well experienced in this as well, and they don't normally lose extra time games.
It's also interesting that all their games Roma played in the European games up until the second leg against Dundee, in fact, they scored every goal late in the game. So they also seem to be a side that gets better the longer it goes on. But you had the feeling, Kev, that Liverpool might have run them a little bit ragged by now.
I think certainly it's been a fascinating game. I wouldn't, you know, obviously probably people have seen more exciting games, but had the 2 goals early on which made it look like it might be a classic, and then it settled down to what the sort of pattern we would have expected had no team scored in the first 20-25 minutes. And certainly Liverpool, fitness will not be a problem for them. The only thing you could question, it's the old story that keeps coming up every year, is this would be probably the 70th or 80th competitive game now. And I wonder just how many Roma have played. It'd be interesting to check out. I would doubt very much whether it'd be over 50, maybe 55 at the most. So all these things come into it. But at the end of the day now, it's about what we call bottle. And I don't mean milk. You know, it's about the ones who are going to stand up and be counted and find that extra yard when really and truthfully the legs are telling them, hey, you're not going to get there.
The players have to go into the centre circle. Joe Fagan is out there now, and the 5 penalty takers will be nominated. Kevin, how do you fancy this now?
Well, I think I share an opinion with most people, Brian. I think this is a terrible, terrible way to end what has been a journey of probably some 6,000-7,000 miles, both teams, home and away, right throughout all parts of Europe, to actually judge it on a spot kick or 5 penalty kicks. Somehow, for me, isn't the answer. I don't really know what it is. I don't know what they could do better. It's certainly not fair to ask these players to play any longer, because as you saw late on, they were terribly, terribly tired men. I think there's 5 or 6 in there who will not want to take penalties simply because they've got cramp. And as I say, I don't know what the answer is, but I certainly don't think it's suitable.
No, I think a lot of people agree, but it's the rules of the competition, and when you enter it, you know that's the way it might have to finish. But I suppose they're not only physically but mentally exhausted, and it really is one supreme moment for them. They've got to conjure up and make it a success. The 2 goalkeepers, an interesting picture there out of our shot, that the 2 goalkeepers, Tancredi and Grobbelaar, were shaking each other's hands and patting each other on the back, Ian.
Yeah, they were wishing each other good luck, because they know that the whole thing can rest and fall on them, like it did at Tottenham, where the young goalkeeper won the cup for Tottenham Hotspur. Now can Bruce Grobbelaar win the European Cup for Liverpool?
I wonder if he wants to take a penalty, Falcao.
I think Falcao.
I wonder whether he's going to stop a few. That's what he must be hoping, and that's what everybody back in Britain must be hoping. And he seems such a composed fella. Look at that. Laughing and joking around the place and having a little word with Joe Fagan. Nice picture there, saying good luck to you, Bruce, because now everything rests with him. He can be a hero. And Steve Nipp will make it 1-0 for Liverpool. 5 penalties for each side, remember. Oh, bad news. Di Bartolome, the man who normally takes him. He's an interesting character because he only takes about 1 yard. He takes about 1 run and then kicks it normally to the goalkeeper's left. He scored in the second leg against Dundee. There he is, just a yard behind the ball, and very often to the goalkeeper's left. But that time to the right, and that puts Roma into the lead. Phil Neal with 3 European Cup winners' medals, 7 League Championship medals behind him. Can he do it? Liverpool, no, he must do it, and he has. Conti against Grobbelaar, and Liverpool need a save. Or a Conti miss. And they've got a Conti miss. Graham Souness, ball on the spot. The goal will look minute to him, enormous to Tancredi. Yes. And Souness has done it too. 21 years old is Righetti, the man now taking this penalty for Roma. Can Grobbelaar save it? No. So that brings it back level. Next to come forward, the man who has scored 49 times this season, Ian Rush. Well, he's a supreme finisher, but it's more now about a test of nerve as well. Dare not fail. He dare not fail. And he's slid it beautifully and comfortably into the net. Now it is Graziani. Missed it! Missed it! So Liverpool 3-2 up. If Alan Kennedy, who's already scored a winner in a European Cup final in Paris in 1981 against Real Madrid, if he scores, it's all over. And Liverpool have won. Liverpool are European champions! Well, with 2 former Liverpool players here with me, first of all, Kevin, your reaction to that?
Well, Brian, I now think that penalties are a very satisfactory way of deciding European Cup finals. It had everything, you know, because they had the misfortune of missing the first one. But that's, again, what we said about Liverpool. It keeps coming out. From then on, you wouldn't have bet against anybody else except Liverpool coming out of it. They've got this unbelievable ability to come back from the dead. And tremendous, all the lads who took penalties. I mean, tremendous character. And, well, they've come to Rome, and they've won in Rome, in front of the Romans. It's a great achievement, and I feel really pleased for Joe Fagan. It could happen to a nicer man.
And what a treble. Milk Cup, Championship, European Cup. Ian St. John, what about Joe?
Oh, fantastic for Joe Fagan. You know, couldn't happen to a nicer man. I'm just looking down there at the scenes. Graham Souness, you know, broke up, was crying. They're all hugging Joe. Marvellous. And they've got a homecoming tomorrow night, and if the whole of Liverpool aren't out to see them, then I should be very surprised. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been a great, great year for the city. I noticed Niels Liedholm, the Roma manager there, warmly shaking the hands of the Liverpool management. Joe Fagan there with the grey hair at the back. And the cup to be presented by Jacques Georges, the acting president of UEFA. John Smith, the Liverpool chairman, on the left of the picture just for a moment there. The triumphs keep piling in on Merseyside, and the way they at last produced the goods tonight when it really mattered, you can't begrudge them, as they come up yet again to the winner's rostrum. And they've done it at Wembley, they've done it this season at Main Road, are now doing it at the Olympic Stadium in Rome. It's a familiar path for Liverpool. It's a familiar job here for Graham Souness, but this really is the biggest pot of all. Well, Kevin, you were here in '77 when that same cup was lifted.
I think I've got just as much pleasure watching it tonight as I did playing that night. I mean, tremendous feat. I think John Smith looks a worried man. I think he's going to have to extend that trophy room again at Liverpool. And if Everton start to extend theirs across that park, they're going to join somewhere in the middle this year.
Against all the odds in a stadium that was really hostile, and Liverpool again have produced the goods. It's a lap of honour that'll take some time to get going. The Roma players, well, they were absolutely shattered at the end of that. Ian St. John, a quick word.
Well, you always feel sad for any losers, you know, and for them to lose it on their own ground in front of their own fans, Brian, it's a terrible blow for them. And all the fans have deserted the stadiums, have all gone out, which is maybe understandable.
They haven't.
Disappointing. No, not the Reds haven't, no.
What a lovely picture that's seen, remember, right around the world. 900 million people are saying there's some pretty good things in British football, and Liverpool mean most of them. 1-1 here in Rome. Back to Steve Ryder in London with another brilliant Liverpool triumph.
Indeed, we echo that in the studio. Marvellous scenes from Rome, another extraordinary climax to a European final after Spurs' UEFA Cup success last week. We'll let Jimmy Greaves get his breath back, then we'll get his views right after this. And welcome back. We've just seen Liverpool take the European Cup for the 4th time in another amazing penalty shootout. A really dramatic match, a really dramatic climax. Jimmy, how would you rate that Liverpool achievement tonight?
Well, it was fantastic to go there. Only Liverpool probably in the world are the team that could have gone to Rome tonight and won it the way that they did. And I'm glad we had the commercial break, because I couldn't stop laughing when the Saint said how sorry he felt for Rome. Incredible.
Sadly sincere.
But seriously, I don't think anybody else could have done it, and particularly on penalties at the end. When you think of Liverpool, I just don't know how they do it.
A great test of character. We really saw the character of Liverpool tonight, didn't we?
Oh, absolutely. It was a tremendous... They deserved it because they went there and they did all that they had to do. OK, they only scored 1 goal, but they only allowed Rome to get 1. And when it came to the penalties, they were the men in the end of the day.
Well, those penalties, of course, 1-1 at full-time, 1-1 at extra time. The penalties decided it. Our congratulations to Liverpool, rounding off a treble then of the Milk Cup, the League Championship, and now the European Cup. And it gives us another match of penalty drama. Last week, Tony Parks won the UEFA Cup for Spurs. Tonight, Alan Kennedy, the hero for Liverpool. Good night.